Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is Flèche Wallonne 2022. Now today's race at 202 kilometers and with the circuit of about 31 kilometers each that they're going to do 2.5 times here, finishing up the Mur. We got a lot of excitement on today's race when you're talking about the finishing selection here up the Mur that's 1.5 kilometers long and focused specifically on the last 900 meters because there's 19% pitches there and the climb averages about 15% when you're talking about from the right corner at 900 meters all the way to the finish line at today's Flèche Wallonne. Now when the racing starts, it's 130 kilometers to go, and there's 10 riders up the front. Daryl Empey, representing Israel Premier Tech, is up there. Simone Guillemette from Arkea Samsic is there. Bruno Armai, FDJ. Chris Jensen from Bike Exchange. Jimmy Johnsons from Alpecin Phoenix. Hugard from UNO-X, Valentin Ferran from Total Energies. He's riding strong today here at Flèche Wallonne. Jens Renders from Sports Vlaanderen. You may have seen him at Paris-Roubaix just over the weekend when he flatted going down the descent. Luc Vertgens from Bingle and Pierre Roland from B&B Hotels. That's the group of 10 up there. Now when they get on the circuit, we're going to see a couple riders drop off. Jens Renders from Sport Vlaanderen drops off first, and Luc Vertgens from Bingle, he follows directly right after the Sport Vlaanderen rider drops off. That's leaving 8 riders up front. Maximum lead that those 10 riders had was about 2 minutes and 45 seconds when the race came on at 130 kilometers to go. Now back there chasing in the field, it's UAE Team Emirates, Quick-Step, and Ineos that are in full force back there. Now Ineos have been on a rampage and they have been winning like crazy ever since Tour of the Basque Country, followed up by Amstel Gold, and of course we all saw Paris-Roubaix. Fantastic victory by Dylan van Baarle. So here they're ready to start stamping their authority here on Flèche Wallonne and automatically already on the front. Now, with only a 2-minute, 45-second gap up to the front group of 10, you know there's a good chance they're getting brought back, and we're at Flèche Wallonne, where a breakaway has not stayed off since 2002, I believe it was, the last time a break stayed all the way to the finish here at Flèche Wallonne. So, we know about what's on the card. We just don't know how this race is going to develop and what's going to happen. And we got big hitters here with Tadej Pogačar, 2-time Tour de France champion, like I always say, and his teammate, past winner here 2 years ago, Mark Hirschi. So UAE Team Emirates have a lot of depth here if they can get to the finish and if everybody is riding on form. But remember, Tadej Pogačar, he's done Flèche Wallonne here, I believe, at least 2 times, but lost out on the opportunity last year with the COVID problems that UAE Team Emirates were having. Now remember, he won LBL just after Flèche Wallonne last year, so you know he would have had some good form, and we missed out on that battle between Primož Roglič, Julian Alaphilippe, and Tadej Pogačar at last year's edition. This year's edition, we got Tadej Pogačar back, but guess what? Primož Roglič is out. If you guys remember, right at the Basque Country, he had some knee problems, so I'm guessing here with a little bit of experience, says that he's missing this race to rest the knee a little bit so he can get it back to normal and prepared for races that are coming up in the future. Bigger and grander expectations, of course, at the Tour de France this year in 2022. Now, we still got other hitters here in the race, and it's a stacked field, so we know the final up the Mur de Huy is going to be really exciting. When we get into the race, when we start hitting all the climbs, first time up the Mur de Huy, we start seeing riders having problems. It's Tom Pidcock back there that's getting dropped, having an off day. Nobody saw this coming. When I'm sitting live on Peacock with Bob Rolls calling today's Flèche Wallonne, as Tom Pidcock's coming out the back, we saw he had his jersey on. We weren't certain, but he looked like he was suffering a little bit. Tom Pidcock did a great job of trying to get up there and use whatever last energy he had to help his Ineos teammates, but now he's dropping. Next to come out while we're on the circuits is going to be Jonas Vingegaard. He drops out. 2 big hitters here at Flèche Wallonne that were leaving when we still got another lap to go here on the Mur de Huy. Now, up front when the action starts going. First time over the Mur de Huy, it's Bahrain Victorious up there covering attacks, and then they start throwing in a team attack on the front, trying to blow this peloton up as they're doing the echelon straight over the top of the Mur de Huy when we're open in the crosswind section of the course here. This is just not something I can support. I know, we just watched Paris-Roubaix, right? We just watched the race blow up in half at Paris-Roubaix with 210 kilometers to go with the Ineos train trying to blow it up. But If you watch beyond the coverage that I gave just yesterday, Tuesday, you'll understand why I don't like this technique. Here you're racing with a bunch of GC guys. They're not going to get caught napping. They're going to be at the front. They're not going to miss the split. Can Bahrain Victorious cause a split? Certainly they can possibly cause a split. But you're not going to have all the best favorite riders at the back of the field here because this is Flèche Wallonne, not Paris-Roubaix. The classic guys right at the back, the GC guys like you see here at Flèche Wallonne, they're always going to be in the front. So you're never going to have a selection like we saw at Paris-Roubaix if you're trying to split the race. They do. I think it's a mistake. I think Bahrain Victorious were perfect in their tactics throughout the beginning part here at Flèche Wallonne of just staying hidden. Now, the first time over the Mur, when they do that, I see that as wasted energy at that point in time. As we get further and we're coming in to the next climbs, we're going to see Simon Carr, who attacks the field back there, and he does a solo bridge up to the remnants of the breakaway riders up there. There was 5 up there. He had Simon from Arkea Samsic latch onto his wheel. That'll make 6 up there with 1 lap to go over the Mur de Huy. Now behind, when we start going up the Mur de Huy, we see all the favorites up there in front who weren't having a bad day. Tadej Pogačar, at points and times, the first lap up the Mur de Huy, we saw him at the back. At that point in time, Bob Roll and I, we weren't certain. Does he have good form? Is he suffering? What's going on? Maybe it was just a mechanical issue, but he wasn't at the front on the Mur de Huy. And during that lap, he had a mechanical with a front flat tire and then chased back on with the help of 2 teammates in Aruso and Jan Polak. They'll get him back on, and when we're going up the climb for the last lap here at Mur de Huy, we'll see the Slovenian rider, and he's in good position. That's telling us all that he's probably back on form, and all the problems he's had early here at Flèche Wallonne are hopefully behind him. When the penultimate climb, Col de Charèves, starts proper, this is when the race really starts getting exciting. Now, we'd seen Simon Carr bridge up to the front group, but that was the only rider from the peloton that managed to attack and get away throughout today's race all the way until this penultimate climb. And I'm expecting attacks left and right from Bahrain Victorious to just light this race up. Instead, it's not. It's Team Cofidis. Cofidis is going up the left side of the road, and they're drilling it with 3 guys and launching Remy Roques up the road. Remy Roques does an exceptional job going up the penultimate climb, drops Van Savenhoff off his wheel, and now he's going solo. This is a little bit of a problem because you got to have some company to come down the descent and then still up the Mur de Huy. But he's going solo behind Søren Kragh Andersen DSM. Now we've seen this character do this all the time. He's got big stage wins at Tour de France stages, and this is how he does it. He waits for his window of opportunity, throws in a big attack. He bridges across to Maury Van Savenhoff from Quick-Step, pulls up to the Cofidis rider Remy Roques, and then when they start the descent, Søren Kragh Andersen must have been blazing the corners because behind it's Maury Van Savenhoff doing everything he can for dear life to hold on to the DSM riders, and Cofidis Remy Roques, who was incredibly fast going up, has now lost the wheel when the cameras come back on. The Cofidis rider won't get back up front, and it's 2 guys going to the start, the Mur de Huy. They got about a 15-second gap on the peloton behind. I'm calling it out live for Peacock, saying they need at least 30 seconds. Now behind in the front of the peloton, it's Ineos that's controlling this race. It's mainly Michael Kwiatkowski at this point in time as we're getting closer and closer to the Mur de Huy. On his wheel, he's got Danny Martinez and Carlos Rodriguez, third wheel sitting for Ineos. I assume they're going for Danny Martinez because we just got done seeing him win at the Basque Country. Michael Kwiatkowski, the Super Domestique ex-road world champion, is doing an exceptional job when they start the Mur de Huy. With 900 meters to go, it's Movistar on the front. Now it's a right turn. This is when the climb starts proper right here. To the naked eye, a lot of times, this could look like a perfect scenario for Movistar. It's okay. It's not perfect because Enric Mas is a little further back. Enric Mas will speed up along the outside of the turn here, and he'll come up the left side of the road with 700 meters to go. It's Carlos Verona's pulling off just as Enric Mas is getting on the front. This is not perfect. This is not the ideal scenario where you have the Movistar train leading out with 900 meters to go, and now it's 700. Verona pulls off the front, Enric Mas gets on the front, but right behind him is some dangerous riders. Dylan Teuns is right there for Bahrain Victorious. We've seen them incredibly active here in terms of their whole team at the front, trying to split this race apart the first time over the Mur when we were in the crosswind section. And Dylan Teuns is in a fantastic position now on Enric Mas's wheel. along with Vlasov from Bora Hansgrohe. Now, behind Alejandro Valverde is a little bit out of a place. Couple spots back there. A couple hundred meters later, we're going to see Enric Mas look over his shoulder before he does an acceleration, and he's waiting for his veteran teammate Alejandro Valverde to get onto his wheel. Valverde finds his way up there with about 500 meters to go. Those two will meet up. Enric Mas will accelerate on the pedals with Alejandro Valverde solidly locked in. Dylan Teuns is there. Vlasov is there for Bora Hansgrohe. Tadej Pogačar has found his way to the front. Julian Alaphilippe, the double world champion, he's represented up front. Enric Mas will go all the way to under 300 meters to go. Alejandro Valverde will do a small acceleration. I don't think this is a full attack, just a tiny acceleration to keep his positioning as Enric Mas is pulling off to the left with about 250 meters to go. Enric Mas and Vlasov, Bora Hansgrohe, will connect a little bit with shoulders, and Vlasov will just make it through between the fencing and Enric Mas to accelerate to stay at the front and stay near Alejandro Valverde. Now behind, Dylan Teuns is still right there. He went up the right side of Enric Mas, the left side of Valverde, and now the three riders are spread across the road as Dylan Teuns throws in a big acceleration at about 225 meters to go. Alejandro Valverde, the cagey veteran, he slots in second wheel. He's in perfect position to win here at Flèche Wallonne. On his wheels, Vlasov. Just behind Vlasov, we start to see the gap open to two-time Tour de France champion Tadej Pogačar. He's not feeling fantastic here for the last 225 meters of Flèche Wallonne. He'll open up a gap, and just to the right side of the two-time Tour de France champion is Julian Alaphilippe, last year's winner here at Flèche Wallonne. Alaphilippe, who was picking Tadej Pogačar's wheel so that he had another shot of going for win number 4 here, now has made a small mistake. The gap is open. The world road champion has to close it on his own. As he's closing, though, Dylan Teuns is accelerating on the pedals. Valverde's holding tight. Vlasov's opening a gap. Now we know for the double world champion, 3-time winner here at Flèche Wallonne, he's got no chance of backing up for win number 4 here at Flèche Wallonne as the gap is getting too big to the 2 leaders up front. But Valverde still got a chance because he is locked on the Bahrain victorious Dylan Teuns' wheel. Dylan Teuns is accelerating. Valverde's starting to attack, coming up the left side of the road. Dylan Teuns will swing just a nudge over to the left, and there's a cameraman against the fence there. Now Valverde's got a little bit of a tight squeeze there. Dylan Teuns holds off from any kind of disqualification because he knows he's got great legs. Valverde looks to the right of Dylan Teuns. At this point in time, Valverde knows he doesn't have the legs anymore. Dylan Teuns pops the clutch, accelerates one more time, and wins by a bike length over the 5-time winner of Flèche Wallonne, Alejandro Valverde, who finishes 2nd here at Flèche Wallonne, and 3rd is Vlasov. 4th, the road world champion, Julian Alaphilippe. Out of the top 10 is going to be Tadej Pogačar, whose legs fell apart with 200 meters to go, and he'll lose any chance of a top 10 placing here at Flèche Wallonne. Now, up front, Bahrain victorious. You guys, who saw this coming, right? When I'm calling it live for NBC, Peacock, I said it. Their tactics were a little bit off. I didn't understand why they were pulling. Clearly, they saw some power numbers from Dylan Teuns that I haven't seen, because Dylan Teuns, always a good rider. He's got wins on his resume, a very good rider. But the acceleration that he put in here to win Flèche Wallonne, he was absolutely the best rider here today at Flèche Wallonne. In his press conference after the podium ceremony, when he's talking to the press, he says with good respect, I don't know for sure if I was the best guy. I had some really good legs. Maybe they're the best. Dylan Teuns, your legs were the best. You were exceptional on the pedals. When you crossed the line, you looked fantastic, and you looked like you didn't break a sweat. Fantastic job. Congratulations on the victory here at Flèche Wallonne. And now you got another big win here at Flèche Wallonne with the help of all your Bahrain victorious teammates. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition of The Butterfly Effect.